to update you on library matters as head of Library Users Association. Also to give you more information, the library's attempt to put RFID, radio frequency identification technology, 12 years after we were successful in stopping it 2 years in a row, working with ACLU and Electronic Frontier Foundation. So they've revived that at the top level, that wish to install it. It's not clear to me that it's funded this year explicitly, but they've hidden in other ways, other things that are privacy busting. And so we were successful recently in getting the American Civil Liberties Union and the Electronic Frontier Foundation again to send a letter to the city librarian, Luis Herrera, to not install it because it's privacy threatening and there are basically no technological changes that they're aware of, nor that the library has told anybody. And so the situation is basically the same. I've seen a very recent letter that Luis sent back to them, basically arguing with them and disagreeing with them. So I think that's a worthwhile battle, especially I think privacy issues in any location where nowadays we have the federal government interested in all kinds of records. So if you'd like to discuss that or work on that in any way or get on a mailing list, see me after as well.
Great, thank you. Were there any other announcements?
The 50th anniversary of the Summer of Love concert, request for permits was denied twice by Rankin Parks. And there was actually a gathering of about 100 people at Haight and Ashbury last Sunday. And we marched down Haight Street, took the street and went to the park. So we're calling for, we want that concert. So this is really nice, I guess, that they're doing this, but I cannot ignore the fact that they've rejected this twice, and it's by an organization that organized the 40th anniversary, and I think the 30th anniversary. They know what they're doing, but I think there's like, Rankin Park has another agenda. Like, they're not like paying for their people to do all this as volunteers, and it's community driven. It's what we want, right? So I just want to share that. I think there is a meeting coming up at Rankin Park that people,
15.
on the 15th, if you've been asked to come and advocate for a permit
What day of
for
the
that
week is that?
concert.
It's a week from today.
Thursday, the 15th?
So,
And it's at, it's the Park and Rec board meeting. Yeah.
It's an appeal at
it's, the people who put on the Czech tribute in 2005, 40th Summer of Love 2007, and West Fest 2009. And so there were 3 major concerts put on in the park by the same group. Both of the permits have been denied.
And they're trying to act like this group doesn't know what they're doing.
Pat, today the owners of Piedmont stopped me and told me that somebody's been granted a permit to do music at the concourse, at the music concourse.
That's what we were
between the
talking
evenings.
about when
That's right.
we came in. So, they are gonna do several hours. Originally, it was just gonna be a light show, a lighting of the
Right.
flowers, but they've added music.
And look at the sponsors, by the way.
Willie Brown's on the board.
Come on,
Phil
talk about
Ginsberg
establishment.
Where's the location of that Rankin Park 15?
Okay.
Conservatory of Flowers.
Conservatory, in front of the conservatory.
Thursday,
For the meeting.
June 15th?
Oh, sorry, June
Where
15th.
is that
June
meeting?
15th, 10 a.m.
City Hall.
City Hall, room 416.
Oh, yeah, 416.
That's the commission.
10 a.m. City Hall, room 416.
10 a.m.
10 a.m.
Thank you. Super. With that, let's hand it off.
I have
Go
a
ahead.
couple of announcements. So a couple announcements. I've been working on behalf of Haight to, I'm Bruce Wolf, I'm the president of Haight. So I've been working on community broadband, and as you know, you may have seen some newspaper articles about Mark Farrell firing this up now for the 3rd time. So a lot of us in the tech community have been working on this, are still a little dubious about it and where it's going, but we're not going to let this opportunity pass us by once again. When the public realm project begins to happen up Haight Street, there is plan to install conduit for fiber, which is what this whole project is going to be all about. So we
Nice.
hope that at least in the Haight Ashbury, we'll be able to get some branching out, get some fiber installed to people's homes and businesses, and start the ball rolling in the neighborhood. One of my other roles, I'm the chair of the San Francisco Sunshine Ordinance Task Force, and this is the city's good government or open government or transparency watchdog, pick a label. And there was a recent court case that was very significant that you should all know about. It's tagged as Smith versus San Jose. It basically states that any public official, that could be an elected official, or it could be an appointed official, or it could be a department head, or what have you. Any business that they do, either on a personal device or in their personal accounts, is considered public information. So we've had a number of cases recently about Twitter. What happens when people get blocked on Twitter by public officials? And there was a newspaper article that Trump has been doing this, and now there's a lawsuit combating that on the federal level. So this is going to start going far and wide pretty quickly.
So Bruce, if it's a public document, explain that it's accessible to the public.
What do you mean?
If it's a
Explain.
public document, that means any person can request to see what those documents
Okay,
look like.
so first of all, anything the government creates, we consider to be public. It's up to the government to tell us why it would be exempt from being disclosed, or part of it being disclosed, or part of it being redacted. If somebody sent a tweet out that said, I had a really bad day today, but we're going to have this meeting at the office at 4 o'clock, only part of that can be redacted, but the rest of it has to be produced. The first part, I had a bad day, could be redacted, because it has nothing to do with the business. The second part, because it has business, would have to be. Now, how this would work, it basically is very vague right now. We're trying to all figure this out. But if it was a tweet, if it was a text message or an email, it's up to the person who owns it or has custody of it to produce it. And so it can't be like their boss gets a hold of their smartphone and gets to rummage through it. So the kinks are still being worked out. But just so you know,
Hey, Donald Trump.
right, including Donald Trump. So just so you know that if you are experiencing you're in a situation where you know there may have been communications between a public official and other parties, or between public officials, or what have you, and you think that it may be part and parcel to an issue that you're working on, you can request those communications. The city's been pretty good about unloading emails, but usually it's out of their government email accounts. This goes much further and goes into their personal accounts and social media too. So that's all I have, and with that, we're going to start our evenings. Rich is going to do the intro. I'll introduce Richard Ivanhoe, member of our board.
So, welcome. We decided that with all the celebrations of the Summer of Love, that we should do something here in the Haight Ashbury, since a lot happened here. Hank was around. Hank started in 1959, and we brought some sample 1967 newsletters, which you're welcome to take. If we run out, you can download them from our website. So I'd like to ask our panel to come up here, and I will introduce them. So we have Sam Chloride, who is a local historian, tour guide. Holly, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Holly lived in a commune in the Santa Cruz Mountains as a teenager in, is it 67 or so? And wrote a book and produced a DVD inside a hippie commune. She's done a lot more too. Arthur Round.
Hi there.
Arthur worked on the Oracle staff, lived in a number of digger households.
I lived in one digger.
One digger household. Was around the neighborhood from early on, and still is in the neighborhood.
Yeah, I got here to the neighborhood in 1966. Go ahead.
And Diamond Dave Whitaker.
And I still around too.
And Dave moved to the city in the
57.
57,
No
yeah.
beatniks were called.
Beatniks, yeah.
Hung out with the hippies, hung out with the punks, poet, radio host, and lots more.
Anyway, here I am still on the planet. So good to see you. I see so many familiar faces. Hey, sister. So much history right here. So much history, herstory, and what I call hipstery. And that's where we are.
A lot of hipposauruses here.
Leading questions or just wants to talk for a little bit.
You want to stick with those 4 things that you set us to task with, which was the first one was what happened during the Summer of Love, or like what happened to either you or us,
The great festifuckles.
or not.
Sure, let me start with Sam, because you've got some background, some history.
I recently came across a copy of an article written by a guy named Robert Courtney, and it was written on the day of the death of hippie. You know? And it is lucid and clear, and is the best thing I've ever read about the Summer of Love, because it was written at that moment.
At that
And
moment.
he talks about reporters coming here and meeting some speed freak and some girl sleeping around in a commune. They spend 3 or 4 days here. They go, oh, okay, I've got the Haight now, and they go back to New York or Ohio or wherever and write these things. And he goes through every detail of it. I meant to read extra copies today, and I fucked it up. But it's really brilliant. It goes into great detail. It mentions all the people by name, who was doing what at what time, in very specific detail. It was from a thing called Paper Bag. I remember this was an old INS, International News Service. They used to collect some underground papers and republish them. And it's the best thing. But I also came across an article in Esquire, written in 1969, that completely documents the horrendous level to which things have fallen in the 2 years in between.
Mm-hmm.
That was definitely not an accident. The San Francisco police were picking up people for violent crimes and hard drugs and letting them go in the Haight and saying, as long as you stay in this neighborhood,
You're fine.
we'll leave you alone. When 2 heroin dealers raped 2 young women, and the police refused to even take reports about it.
Right.
Because they must have wrote on themselves. Members of the White Panthers shot 2 of them. So, not because they were selling heroin, nobody gave a damn about that.
The White Panthers?
The robbery of the Free Store?
The White Panthers.
What were the White Panthers?
Yeah.
Yeah, the White Panthers.
They were sort of like hippies. I mean, they were a anarchist, leftist, not white.
Right.
That's the deceiving name. They were imitating the Black Panthers.
Right.
But in white communities.
Yeah,
They came out of the Good Earth Commune. How many people are in the Good Earth, the Church of the Good Earth? The White Panthers came out of that. But anyway, when I get I think if all this was my time to put it together, please go ahead. I'll definitely put it together from my perspective.
The Black Panthers
White
originally
Panthers.
admitted
Good job on the White Panthers.
publications
Right around
to
here.
their.
Right, yeah.
Could I ask
A great digger thing last night, the guy talked about like hanging out with Huey for a while and stuff. And he says that's where the diggers got the idea of the free breakfast program and doing all these other things directly from the community organizing we're doing the Panthers. I hope everybody saw that wonderful show at the Oakland Museum last year.
Yeah, the Black Panthers were definitely involved early on with the community. And I was working with the Black Panthers in Oakland, helping them with their community. I mean, it was a bigger community. It was brothers and sisters of black and white, really, with the Panthers.
And the Fillmore, I'll talk about that too. And Visadero was at one point early on, was the division point. The Fillmore was black, and the Ashbury was white. It was almost like a suburb. And when they started redevelopment of the Fillmore, people started coming over here, and we had coming over from the Fillmore, and we had something called white flight. Because of white flight, there's flats available all over the neighborhood, and that's out of which came communes. Communes.
And I bought my home. I came and I bought my home right then.
Lucky
Very,
you.
very good.
Good decision.
And we can come coming from New York, people following from New York here, and there's all these empty flats, $100 a month.
Yeah.
And I learned how to open the window. I say, this place has been vacant for a while, white flight. And we open the window and jump right in, I crawl in, I jump in, open the door and say, welcome. And these are the communes. These became the communes that the niggas are talking about.
Squatters.
The digger houses. Yeah, digger houses. Well, they call any commune digger house. But they were communes, there were people coming in, you had a place to lay your head, and people laid their head, and it started with the first commune, which is about the same time of year, at 1090 Page, right down the street. Have you heard of
Right.
that?
My brother used to rehearse there before they were a formal band.
And Janice and everybody in the basement, and we were there, and when, they was there, and when I got site here in 66, planning to go back to North Beach to be a beatnik,
Right.
people picked me up and said, took me to 1090 Page Street, and I was the first commune, and then more people came up following me here, so we started what we call squats now, but we call communes, white flight, and a lot of places were open. And that was really the beginning. But go ahead, brother.
That's Dave.
Anyway, that definitely contributed to it, as well as the fact that since someday the CIA was deeply involved in the distribution of opiates and other hard drugs at the time. Besides all the stuff going on with the mind chip, stuff they're doing that. Coincidentally, I was living here and doing some bad things in the late 70s at the same time as the Iran-Contra hearing.
Mm-hmm.
San Francisco, like many other cities in the United States, was flooded with cheap, very strong Iranian heroin.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's just a coincidence. I'm sure.
No.
I'm sure there's no coincidence. There's no connection between that stuff.
What year?
In 78, 79, and 80.
Yeah.
It's the stuff they called it Davo.
Yeah.
Which is Iranian for heroin.
All right.
But it was just the same tactic. It's just like you got something, you flood a community with it.
Right.
It brings it down.
Well, there was a lot of coke in the 80s. I mean, through the whole 80s and late 70s. So maybe that was the wrong concept.
Well, no, it was. It was, because that's what they invented
Our
crack.
government was bringing the cocaine in.
Oh, they
They
changed.
invented, you take baking soda and mix it with cocaine, and suddenly you have something you can sell for next to nothing.
Mix what?
Baking soda,
That's
that's
what
how you
we're
make crack.
talking about, brother.
There's some other factors involved with that that have nothing to do with conspiracy, it's got to do with economics and drug dealing at a big scale.
Yeah, but the money went for the conscious.
Not always, no, actually, not at all. I mean, everything was going to Columbia, everything had nothing to do really with any of the socio-political stuff at all. It had all to do with money and cartel.
And the good stuff, yeah.
The guys that used to fly weed would fly that with a lot more money.
I used to fly weed at that time, so.
So this isn't going to be very summer, but I'm gonna put some structure. I'm gonna do about 10 or 15 minutes each, and then take questions.
And open it up.
No podium, huh?
When I start my tour, and I get people from all over the world, one of the things I say is that I think there's a certain irony in celebrating the Summer of Love. Because the golden age here was 64, 65, and 66.
Correct.
There was still a purity to it, there was still a purity of spirit and intent and creativity and so on and stuff, and it just got overwhelmed by sheer numbers. A lot of which was stirred by the media. I mean, that article I mentioned before, he talks about how the media just like to sensationalize everything. I'm glad that doesn't happen anymore, but, but, you know, here are people with long hair and, you know, and interesting clothing and kind of stuff, and it was like, and that was attracting attention everywhere. And they sensationalized to a degree. And then Harry Reader certainly didn't help with his thing that was intended, you know, Hippie Temptation, the CBS documentary, was intended as a warning to not let parents to not let their kids come here, because the place was full of free love and free drugs.
Right.
Best infomercial ever made to get everything.
Right, they came in droves. Came in droves.
Okay, so, should I continue?
Sure,
somewhere?
go ahead, sister, sure.
Okay, so, you know, I mean, 64, 65, 66, Bohemian beatnik people were gathering together more and more, you know, smoking marijuana more. They're kind of getting a collective unconsciousness or consciousness together. I mean, semi-conscious, yeah. But anyway, and then, you know, just in the end of 65, 66, it just started to blossom into this kind of new era with, you know, and people taking LSD, mind-expanding drugs, and things changing to the point where, I mean, I feel like 67 was kind of the flower that bloomed, and then the flower started to decline and die in 68. But 66 and 67 were definitely the high point of the era, and people expressing themselves with their clothing, without their clothing. I mean, somebody streaking down Market Street naked, stoned on LSD, you know, at 5 in the morning. These things happen then. And but I think overall, the consciousness of that time really changed a lot of things in this world. And not just in San Francisco and the Haight Ashbury, but across the board, all at the same time, in all kinds of communities. And that's the thing that we can look at now and look back and see that seed, where that came from, and how it grew out into people eating healthier, people taking care of themselves, people being more aware, massage, yoga, you know, therapy, all, you know, everything stemmed out of that kind of time.
Right.
Really. Ecology and environmental,
Goes back to
you know,
Dr.
taking care of the Mother Earth, realizing we're all one. And, you know, growing up in Santa Cruz Mountains, I was really in touch with nature. And then also coming to San Francisco and being a part of the Haight Ashbury at the same time. And in that new book that the DeYoung, Summer of Love book, the DeYoung, our bus is in there. And I'm on the bus on there. And then in my book, I tell this whole story about that bus. How Neil Cassidy went and got the bus up in Oregon and brought it down. The fire department bombed it in Ben Lomond, and it was moved to my mother's art school where we painted it all psychedelic. And it is the bus in the Monterey Pop Festival. We did light shows there, and anyway, so it's a whole story about the history of the bus.
What's the name of the book?
It's called Inside Hippie Community. Yeah, and I brought some.
Do you still have it?
Yes.
Yeah, and the DVD, the movie,
Even in
yeah.
the library.
Yeah, and you
Several
can take it out
times
of
that
the
I will
library.
use.
Yeah. I'll give you some more copies.
Does the bus survive?
The bus was buried at the commune.
Buried, right.
It was smashed down, and it was buried with a backhoe.
Right.
And I'm sure there's probably a sinkhole there.
Do you know when?
That was probably in, 69, 70. Yeah. It was they thought it was a fitting burial.
Indeed. Beautiful. Indeed.
They're gonna be digging it up, I guess.
Well, I got here in 1960, but by 1965, I had a bunch of Bohemian friends. We were all trying to be beatniks and smoking out, going to North Beach every night and stuff. And there's really nothing to do, you know, except watch some chip joints and you're thrown on acid or whatever. It doesn't mean it's pretty meaningless. And so a group called Family Dog decided, well, we know some musicians, we know some artists. Why don't we try to rent a venue and have dances? You know, where we have music, hire a couple bands, put our light show artists to work, put our graphic artists to work. And so this was somewhat successful. And I tried to get the Family Dog to rent the Fillmore Auditorium in 1965. It was for rent for $65 a night. However, they thought that was too low class. It was called Uptown. It was a black neighborhood. It happened to be the neighborhood in which we lived.
Right.
Instead, we spent $500 a night to rent the Longshoremen's Hall, 3 nights straight, lost $1,500 each performance.
Right.
Fourth and fifth, it was way before the Fifth Festival by about 4 years. But anyway, so then the fourth and fifth shows were at the California Hall. They actually made money at both of those shows, and it was a clue to them that they could actually make money at this. And then they inherited this charming Chet Helms, who had ministerial and managerial talents, and he actually pulled it all together and made it work. He was somewhat like Bill Graham in that if he said that I have such a contract or such an agreement with this group of people, the second group that he's talking to would have reason to believe him. You know, he was credible,
Right.
believable, unlike our president. No, I'm not talking about that. No, we should talk about it, but anyway, where was I going with that? Right here, I have a couple things. The first one was what happened during summer love. Somebody said, I should say what happened to me. So then the suggestion was, what about everyday life? You know, my everyday life was, it turned from 67 to 66 to 67, was to go to the digger's house and try to see what it was like to actually live in that place. But I wanted to live there, embedded in the commune that existed, and help cook in the kitchen and help deliver food in the park. They did. And our place was at 880 Clayton. And we fed at Oak and Ashbury. But anyway, I like to count in those days. I would count how many people came to the dance. Maybe count 500 people. Well, I counted 350 people sleeping in the commune at 880 Clayton on Wednesday night.
Right.
I went up to 500 on a weekend.
Right.
20 people on a staircase, both sides of the staircase, up one side.
Right.
on the other
Right.
side.
Right.
10 people on the couch, people in front of the couch leaning against the bottom of the couch, people sitting at the couch, people on the arm of the couch, people on the back of the couch, people on the back of the couch.
Yeah, right.
You know, one guy had a cabin in the basement. He actually slept in this red what is it? Futon. But anyway, this was the digger. So what happened during the Summer of Love? There was a lot of LSD. Owsley was producing LSD.
Right.
And by 1967, Hub Pharmacy, which was at Haight and Market, sold 60,000 number 5 capsules, which is enough to cap 6 grams of acid, at 60,000 doses, and on a weekend. And that was not the only pharmacy selling that size, and not the only day of the week. So you know, it was ounces. So this had something to do with our life there. And then
Well, they flew.
in 67 and 66, there was a lot of empty places and low rent in Haight Ashbury. And so we actually came to this because it was a nice place to live. It had been a white Russian community, you know,
Right.
several Russian restaurants. You could get pierogies for 4
Right, the pierogies,
2 years later, the pierogies went up to 15 cents.
Yeah.
And the our 3-bedroom apartment was $126 a month.
Right.
I lived at Noe and 14th, and I would walk up to the Ashbury to go to the Oracle office after I had spent a week at this commune at 88 Clayton. And I met some girl, and she was going off to some yoga commune in Virginia City where Master Server Muni was teaching, and well, up there I shaved my head, came back a week later, and then moved in with my girlfriend at 14th and Noe, and then I found a girl that I was the art director for the San Francisco Oracle, Hetty McGee.
Oh, yeah.
And, I had met her in Tangier in 1964. Now, in 1966, she's working for the San Francisco Oracle, and she's the color artist. And she stands on there's this, stands in front of these big roller, these presses, 8-web press, and squirts colored ink onto the rollers out of these ketchup bottles. with
Right.
colors in them. And she put and if the inks got mixed up, she'd stop the presses, throw away the ink, start over, and then she would put sandalwood oil or cedarwood oil or patchouli oil or any number of scented oils in the ink. So
Right.
when the issue number 6 got produced, it smelled different than the issue number 7. Or the second printing of issue number 8, you ordered 10 bundles of them, and they come into your warehouse will smell like cedar oil, you know, or whatever scented ink. So when I saw Hetty McGee there, I just surrendered everything, and I went to work with the Oracle. We didn't get paid, it was a volunteer job, and the way we got paid was we would take 25 newspapers and sign up, we owe you $6.25. The newspapers had a 50-cent price on them. So we would make $6.25 when we sold those 25 newspapers for 50-cent speed. We'll come back, bring back the Oracle, $6.25, maybe get another stack of newspapers. I could sell those newspapers by walking around the block.
Right.
From Haight and Masonic up to Waller and out to Ashbury and down to Haight and then back to Masonic. By the time I walked around the block, there's so many people wanting to see what's going on. Traffic jams everywhere. People, you can just pass the newspapers out like every car.
Right.
Every window was open. People want to see what it is. It's a colorful newspaper.
Souvenir.
Years later, I found the Oracle under glass in the Corning library. They built a new library, and under glass and a glass showcase was the San Francisco Oracle that I worked on. And then the community at the Gainesville, Florida, the University of Central Florida, the Student Union Hall, built a new Union Hall under glass. In the main lobby was the Oracle that I worked on.
Right.
So we put those oracles out all over the United States, shipped them out, and no wonder we had an influx of people coming here, sometimes hundreds a day. So the diggers really performed a great service by having housing and providing free food. And
I wanted to add
The,
something, that there was a LA Oracle too, and the only thing was that the LA Oracle got permission from the San Francisco Oracle to use the name.
Right.
And the LA Oracle, our commune was in the November 1967 issue. And when that LA Oracle came out, and that went all over, it went all the way to New York, London. In fact, I didn't see it until I was in New York in Greenwich Village. I picked it up, and so I was in there, and it was like, so that's all in my book about the LA Oracle. But that brought all these people to the commune, which was a huge influx too, which kind of was the end of the commune by that happening. But because it was so well publicized.
Didn't you also put out the commune newspapers? I remember that all the communes were on a list, and you used to put out a weekly or monthly newspaper to all of the communes in the city, because I used to deliver that.
The Carista commune had the newspaper.
Right, Carista.
Classroom, and then the Cauliflower commune had their.
Right, the Cauliflower and Carista.
And then the Harbinger Hot Springs, the Frontiers of Science, had their own newsletter.
Right.
They published 2 newsletters after the San Francisco Oracle 12th issue
Right.
was printed in 1968. So
Yeah.
January, February of 1968, the same people that worked on the Oracle were now living up at the commune
Right.
at Harbor Hot Springs, and they published 2 more issues.
And I think,
Really rare. I love it.
and didn't Gaylib come out with Vanguard Press also, I think, at the same time?
I'm not sure.
Vanguard Press, yeah. Key St. Clair.
Wouldn't doubt it.
It's about the right time. Yeah, it's about
And
that
then, of
time.
course,
Yeah.
don't forget the San Francisco Express Times, which became the San Francisco Good Times.
The Good Times.
And the Good Times.
I worked there.
You can pick up a pile and sell it out on the street as well.
Right, you get a pile, you can sell them, you can make money that way.
Yeah,
So if
they
you
were-
were vicious, you could go pick up a pile.
Yeah, the Good Times was 25 cents.
To the south of Market later on?
No, it didn't, it was,
No.
it was operating out of Print Mint, which is someplace
Right.
like Cole, between Cole and Broadway.
1542.
Side of the street, and
That was
then
Gary
they-
Arlington's.
Yeah, Gary.
Gary Arlington.
1300,
Yeah, Print Mint.
83, 1383,
He just passed
Haight
a few
Street,
years ago.
on the
Yeah.
south side of Haight Street, just past Masonic doors.
So it was always in the Haight? It was
Always in the Haight.
Always in the Haight.
With another underground newspaper?
There was a underground newspaper called the Berkeley Bar.
Right, the Berkeley.
Okay, maybe we get a little farther down the list here.
Yes, please, Arthur.
For the commune, for the food that we served at the commune, we
Right.
would get truckloads of food from the docks or
Right.
from the produce market.
Right.
And sometimes they would just give us the food, knowing that we were in turn gonna give it away.
Right.
And so I did that. And then after starting to work with the Oracle, I would go every day, walk to the Oracle. I got a job on my 3rd day. A guy that was doing production, doing play stuff for the newspaper, quit. His name was Red Barker, and he called up to say that he'd been hired by San Francisco State and that he wouldn't be coming to work anymore. And since I had been his apprentice, I just stood there and took the job, working for the next 7 issues, which was a nice place to be during the summer of love.
Right.
Right on Haight Street with something to do.
Yeah.
And so
And make a living.
and make a living. And if you needed more than $6.25, you just go take another handful of newspapers and go make another walk around the block.
Right.
So sometimes that's all the money we needed, or if we needed more money, we might do it twice. There was only, I think, one person that was actually on payroll, and that was that lady, Eddie McGee.
Right.
Who was an immigrant from England. So then, what else? Then these houses, let's see. So there's hundreds of people that would have been homeless had it not been for the diggers and these communes and the houses that allowed them to stay. And then there was, some things happened in those days. The Steve Gaskins Monday night class was out at the beach, the beach chalet, used to be a slot car track. And on Tuesday afternoon was a thing called the Commons meeting, where people like from the neighborhood council, Hank, they would have been at this neighborhood, at this Commons meeting. Steve Gaskin came there as well, Jerry Garcia, Tim Leary, members of the Oracle, Mr. Mendel from Mendel's. That was our common meeting, we called the Commons meeting. So then what? I got to think about the next things here. What was the impact? Getting jobs, moving to communes. You know, I went to Old Hippies, which is north of Nevada. First I went to Harbin Hot Springs and then found out about Old Hippies. It was closer. And so I went there. And then, how does neighborhood change? The shops were all open now. Prosperity followed during the time of 66 to 1970. It was start out with empty stores, cheap rent, reasonable rents. What does it mean for today? If anything, better environment, more prosperity, higher standing of living, accepting public toilets, accepting LSD, marijuana, possibly MDMA. And this all helped to advance our empathy and understanding. I shouldn't be just reading these notes, but anyway. I went to Black Bear Ranch. Many people, when the summer of '68 happened, moved to communes or found places in the country that they moved to. And Black Bear Ranch was way up there by the Oregon border.
Oregon.
It's a long way away. It's still in Oregon.
Yeah.
Still operating.
The Lou Gottlieb, right?
Lou Gottlieb.
Lou Gottlieb.
Lou Gottlieb had
And Star, Morning Star.
Lou Gottlieb, the Peters Ranch, and there's another commune. And counties up there gave them a lot of heck and bulldozed their properties.
Right. Well, we ran around naked and the police raided us.
Well, and Lou Gottlieb deeded his property to God.
To God. He deeded it to God and then he moved to LA. Yeah. It's still on the books. Deeded to God.
Including his piano, which he played.
Yeah, and it's still there.
The old building.
But the judge wanted him to prove that there was a God.
Well, Gracie had the same problem. Remember, she actually called her daughter God, and they made her change it to China.
And
That's funny. This is a good
Lou
story.
Gottlieb also had a house in the Santa Cruz Mountains with his parents.
Correct.
So he would come down to art school and attend gatherings that we would have there. That's right.
And one of the communes I lived at, which was the Carista commune.
The Carista, yes.
Free food at the All Saints Church.
The-
Each member 1 day a week.
Yes.
And for that time, I served food twice to maybe 40 people or
Right.
something like that. And it was
Jed, right? Jed?
Judd.
Judd.
Judd. Used to have a TV show on 26, Judd.
What a character.
What a guru.
Yeah.
Jed.
Judd.
Back.
Hippie capitalist.
Okay, well, I think I've caught up most of the things I had to say. I think it's conclusive, except that today, what does it mean for today? It means that we have more prosperity in the streets and more allowing people that live here. Like in those days, there was a move to make Haight Street, Upper Haight a mall.
Right.
And during that time, there were so many people on the street that they diverted the buses outbound to Haight Street and inbound to Waller Street. And they went for several days. And now currently, I have read that there is an offer being presented, a proposal to turn Upper Haight into a mall.
I predict that it will happen.
Right? Mr. Natural.
There was one more thing that happened during that time no one's mentioned, and that was the spiritual movement. There were more religions invented in the Haight-Ashbury during that period of time than any place in the world. Psychedelic Venus Church, right? You had Father. You had the Foundations of Revelations. You had Coltrane. On and on. Yeah. On and 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 on. Right? Jefferson fucked Poland, the Sexual Freedom League. You had
drugs as sacraments depending upon.
Well, the Psychedelic Venus Church used LSD as a sacrament every week. And that's what Krista did too. Krista was.
Mr. Natural, that's definitely right. brothers and sisters. I look around and I see a lot of my history right here. We've connected in many different ways and many different times. Is that right, people?
Yay.
And here we are in 2017 and the time it's from. Now I came trying to, how should I open it? What should I say? How should I bring all that history? You read the history books.
Right.
Her story comes out. Her story comes from the women's movement of the 70s.
Right.
What we're doing right now, I call hipstery.
Right.
Which is these underground connections and how it's all together, whether it be the churches or whether it be the LSD, or whether it be out in the streets with the White Panthers and the Black Panthers and the anarchism, which I want. Back to that half-forgotten war called the Vietnam War. When we would fill that street, you remember we'd fill the street.
Oh, yeah.
We'd come down, and by the time the war was after several years, we were saying, Ho Chi Minh, man, now left is gonna win.
Off the pigs and seize the times.
On the side of the State Theater, now gone, the late lamented.
Guy
was
Caldwell.
A huge Vietnam flag,
Right.
Mekong flag, marijuana flag,
That beautiful
gay
mural.
liberation flag, black
Yeah.
liberation
Yeah,
flag, remember
unfortunately.
they were all there. Right there in the State Theater.
Right.
When you walked up Haight Street, when we had these big marches, they looked, and out of them, they would say, this is the time, of course, when it seemed like every window, I'd hear them singing, the Rolling Stones singing the Street Fighting Man.
Right.
Because that was that temper of the time. Yeah, he's a street fighting man. That was the temper of the time. But I want to get to go back to what I was thinking. I was thinking, well, what should I do? How should I present it to these fellows, these brothers and sisters of Haight? And I walked in, there's a free box as we go to my house.
Right.
A free box. Wow, let me look. Wow, look at this. And every garment I'm wearing came from the free box today. Take a look.
Yep. Yep. Plus all my home furniture.
But now for this is my new, anyway, and this is the free box. Of course, the free box, the idea of a free box, and how many people have seen free boxes at corners? I believe everyone here. Okay, wow, free box. Let's see what's here. And it's usually amazing stuff.
Right.
Free box. That goes back to the nigger days. That goes back to the free store.
Oh, yep. Joel Roberts.
Store which started as a garage here, free from a refuge,
Right.
2 blocks down the street.
Right.
And then as money started coming in and people taking an interest, then it moves to Frederick Street, right next to the Hare Krishna's, they had a store from, and the free store was right next street. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
On Frederick
Within a
Street.
block.
On Frederick, right down the street, right around the corner.
Well, there's also one right on Haight Street
No,
where
well, that was then.
where the Thai noodle is.
I don't know what that may have been later.
Pardon?
But then of course, the big free
Well,
store
and the
was
Haight
in
and the
Colin
Sonic
Farrell,
part was also.
with a balcony. And that's where out of which came the communication company.
Right.
Where we could get out what's happening, free shows, free happenings, what's going on, and so on, and people's poetry and people's called the communication
Right.
company. That's before any of this stuff where you only these handheld units and something.
Right.
We had mimeograph machines, and there was people ready to turn that up and turn it down the street.
People's
So we knew
Radio.
what was happening.
Right. People's Radio. It's big.
And
In,
People's Radio, they came a little later.
Yeah.
People's Radio was like
they
so-
came later.
In fact, that's early 70s.
Yeah.
I became involved with KPO, remember?
Right.
KPO.
Right. That's where they grew out of, and they went to Project Artaud. They moved over to Project Artaud.
And I still do radio, by the way, but it's internet radio, of course, we're up to date, 4,500 downloads last month, and you get a mutinyradio.fm every Friday, come on through, every Friday, 3 to 6, come on through, engage you in conversation. If you got some music you want to play, by all means, if you got some word, and people have said about me, having lived through all this. What's the frequency? You have to be online.
I'm sorry.
mutinyradio.fm. Online, that's what people do these days. You can downloads and streaming live every Friday, 3 to 6. Or just show up, just show up and the secret of being an MC.
Florida and 21st.
That's it, right in the corner. Mutiny Radio. And the secret of being a good MC, and this is what I do, is this. Nobody goes away sad, nobody goes away mad, everybody goes away glad to be able to do what they came to do. And in fact, as I think about it, it's kind of like this, the entering the message of this hipstery of what happened here. Some people did go away sad, some people did go away mad, but that was kind of the common thread. One of my 4 lines is this is what I do. I cast a wide net. I find the common thread. I let life flourish. And I say, don't panic, just keep it what? Organic. So we kind of find that common thread up and down this street in the city as brothers and sisters on the planet in the time of Trump. And we have some lessons, I think, to teach of what happened during the half-forgotten war, the Vietnam War, how we were able to get people AWOL, absolutely, I'll leave on the Haight, I ain't going back to no fucking Vietnam. But we'll get you on we'll get you on this, they came to stay with us in these various communes. How many people are sleeping there, various communes here, and then we get them on the Underground Railway. It was a new Underground Railway down a series like the Rainbow Commune, Drain, Oregon, and so on to Canada, where they probably are to this day, with children in their 20s and 30s, where they are to this day. Oh my goodness, Canada, save it last, late at last. See, we were about all that. And we were about, I started with the Beatniks, 1957, North Beach, in Kerouac, and Cassidy, and I hitchhiked here, it was before the interstate, which is a 3-lane highway, because I heard something was happening. All these poets coming in, you know their names, get Kerouac and Corso and Bob Kaufman, and you can say them yourself. Michael McClure, you can say Diane Prima, you can keep on saying it. North Beach.
Spaghetti Factory.
The first Bohemian community according to Kenneth Rexroth. How many people heard of Kenneth Rexroth? I worked with him. His bookstore. Yeah, Kenneth Rexroth. Yeah, I worked with him. Okay, then we know. He was the publicist, wasn't he? He was the one who said something is happening in North Beach. He translated Chinese into English. Yeah, he did. He did many things. And he was beautiful. I remember it was a little thing. North Beach. And then I left. And I had a chance to go to Europe, to have an Israel, I had to in a small boat to Israel where I lived on a kibbutz. All I had to say, long before the 6-Day War, where I turned 21, I'm 79 now. Long before the 6-Day War, so blame that on me. This is long before the kibbutz was a commune. And then I came back and I'll kick off the hippie movement. I didn't know that. I thought I was going to North Beach. And the people picked me up after hitchhiking here. They brought me here, right here in this neighborhood, to 1090 Page Street, which is like the first commune. That's where Janice was. That's where
Big Brother rehearsed.
Big Brother's basement. I was up there.
It was before
All
Janice.
that. Oh yeah, it was happening in the basement. It was like the first commune, but it wasn't the first one long. And we discovered this white flight, and all these people followed me from New York, so we had to find our own place. And I learned I would just open the window these flats were by much almost abandoned. The people who bought them were waiting to rent them. And Hank was waiting to come together and begin to see what's going on here. That's when Hank got its big. I can talk about Hank and that, but I won't do that. Anyway, Ashbury. Because Hank stood with us. Well, the Haight Ashbury Improvement Association up the hill for many years did anything. They hated us. Is that right? Yeah. They hated the fact that we were there. But Hank said, welcome. Then the mission said, the new merchant said, welcome. Welcome. So Hank had its real renaissance. And here we are in 2017, a renaissance, a resurgence, and a revel with Hank. And this room was put together by a group called the Haight Ashbury Cultural Center.
Right.
You remember that?
Yep.
Who was that? He passed.
Back.
Surgery. And we got this room together. And now here we are. And I look around and I see so many people I know. Hey, brother in the library. Hey, sister. We have history, don't we?
We have history.
Fuck yeah. Hey, sister, we have history. There's one, the new generation coming through. I invite her to come by on 8th Street. Does that?
Yeah.
They come on through.
I got a
They need
piece
your
of glass in
spirit.
my foot and I walked all the way here without getting out first. I don't want to get any.
Yeah, they're the ones there's a new generation you see on 8th Street. They're the ones who, they tried to throw us out. They had the soup kitchen. Remember the soup kitchen?
Yep.
We
Belvedere.
all used to eat there at Hamilton Church, didn't we?
Yeah, Hamilton Church. Belvedere.
The Pilgrim Association, the bunch who pulled the plug.
Right.
They knew they pulled that. It was a beautiful thing, wasn't it?
Right.
How many people were at the soup kitchen?
Yeah.
That was 80. That's what
worked there.
Well, there was a midnight
I was there
basketball
Thursday,
too
Thursday.
upstairs.
That's right, and I'd say that's why I say 1/3 beatnik, 1/3 hippie,
Right.
and 1/3 punk as fuck.
Yeah.
That's
It's the right mixture.
Yeah, now he's still distribute free food.
Yeah.
But you have to know about it, bring your own things, but then it used to be a time that everybody would eat there together. The punks, and the skins, and now the old hippies, and the wrecking crew, remember the wrecking crew? And Fast Eddie's posse, we all eat together. I was the maitre d', the chef on Thursday, and I had the only open mic with a free lunch. The only free lunch with an open mic every Friday. It comes back. And now what's coming up, hey sister? What's coming up? These guys Haight Street now we're still going on, still coming, even though there's no free lunch, even though the same people get killed in the soup kitchen, passed the law, you can't live in a vehicle anymore on the panhandle, they say. They can't even sit down, remember the sit-lie law?
Yeah.
And there's this sister, is part parcel, she was sitting. And she was sitting, and and what's coming up? I want to know what's coming up is what kind of gathering, what is it called,
Haight Street Fair.
Rainbow Gathering.
Rainbow.
Haight Street Fair, but this is the Rainbow Gathering.
Where is the gathering this year?
Oh, let me tell you, this year it's gonna be in Oregon.
That's a big state.
It's always, well, it's about to tell you, I know it's a big state, not as big as California. It's a national forest in the northwest corner, I think it's the southeast corner. It's there, you can find it out if you go to the website, Rainbow Gathering, Rainbow Family, or if you go to Facebook, Rainbow Gathering 2017 Oregon. And I just saw today for this weekend coming up is going to be Spring Council, which is on the site, and that's where they decide there might be a couple sites. But it's already out there, you can find it. And after Spring Council, they'll tell you where it is and the whole process. But it'll be in Oregon in a beautiful space. The Scouts are going on, and the Rainbow Gathering is where I'm going to be, as I am every year. Please.
For me, as a newcomer in '67, one of the few ways I could, the internet of the time was the switchboard, and Haight had a very active switchboard. There was a lesser active one in the Mission. Tell me about the switchboard.
Oh yeah, the Haight Ashbury switchboard was.
Tool for newcomers.
Oh yeah.
Okay, remember the guy that, what was his name? He's passed now. Who?
Damien used to run it.
Okay.
Right.
And it was right here in the corner. It was a Schrader, Colin Haight.
Right, Schrader Colin.
Schrader, right there. I was working for the Department of Human Resources, and I got myself assigned there and had a desk giving out jobs and stuff there on the switchboard.
Right.
The switchboard had a number of various do we say self-help, or where we go people are there lending hands in all kinds of ways. And it was right there in the corner, just around the corner from here.
Remember, Neighborhood Arts Commission also did a lot of posters for anyone that was doing anything in the area.
Arts was coming on, there's a Neighborhood Arts.
Steve Goldstein, I think, was them.
Exactly, Steve
Right.
Goldstein, and out of which came all the cultural centers.
Right.
Mission Cultural Center.
You know, was the Mission switchboard connected to the Haight Ashbury?
I can't remember how much connected, but all these things were pretty well.
Free medical clinic too.
And the free medical clinic came out of
Yeah.
David Smith.
And you had the People's Law Clinic where.
Right on the corner, the Haight Ashbury alcohol program, of which I sat because that's when I got sober. I have 70 years of sobriety. I did everything going on. I used to drink on Haight Street. I lived in, does anybody remember, I bet there are people who do, the Poly High School, the High School.
Yep, Polytech.
Poly High.
Yep.
I lived there. I was drunk there, and I crawled through a window every night, and I'd wake up surrounded by empty half pints of Guild vodka.
Yeah.
And one day I said enough, and I walked down Haight Street. What am I to do? That's enough. Thank you, brother. Thanks, brother. Just standing up, one thing I'd like to do, I'll give you one sentence. I'd like to, wait, I have one thing I'd like to say before you do this. I had word just yesterday that a brother who played a big role in all of this in his own way, his name was Twilight. Do anybody know Twilight?
Yes, Twilight, yes.
Twilight, he passed.
Yeah.
And he was found dead, I hear, in Golden Gate Park. What the story is, I don't know. We did have our gathering there last Sunday, the 50th anniversary. I didn't see him there. A lot of people came, but I don't know. But Twilight, if you knew Twilight, anybody, how many people knew Twilight? He was a beautiful brother, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
He was like an elf. And he worked hard in his arts. So Twilight, gentle belt. So anyway, I want to dedicate this my whole evening, I mean, what I've said, for the moment of putting my head down to my brother Twilight. Twilight, I love you, brother. You're on your journey. You're on a journey, as I always say, to the sky, the spirit world, and the other side of the camp. Thank you. Thank you. I know I
Whatever you guys were like doing, what I'm doing now, did the locals hate you as much as they hate us? Like the other day, I was singing a song at like 2 in the morning on like Saturday night, and one of the locals, like this dude, he like opened up his window and like threw full water bottles at me to make me shut up. And, like I was just wondering, like, did they hate you guys as much as they hate us?
In 1968.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
yeah.
Whether we were doing anything
Yeah.
wrong or not.
Yeah.
Because of that, we were driven out, and because of that, the thing that happened during the summer of '67 was not going to happen during the summer of '68. We were damn sure told that.
Right.
In every number of ways. And so then, of course, the diggers came up with this idea of the death of a hippie. Maybe if we just have a parade with some puppets, that we can get the police off our backs.
Yeah.
You know, and of course, then later, 40 years later, they blamed it on drugs. Oh, there was bad drugs.
Right.
There was bad police enforcement.
Right.
There's still really bad policing.
Well, that's true, but now, we're looking at it in the present tense.
I got a bunch of the base bodies the other day.
I hope we can do something about it. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I come from a different part of the community. I came back to I'm a native San Franciscan. I was born in the Fillmore. I grew up in the Fillmore, and I knew the Fillmore as a child, which is completely gone. There's no place where I'm really sitting.
Right.
So,
That's where I live.
I'm a ballet dancer, and I'm a choreographer and dance director. I started with San Francisco Ballet and the San Francisco Opera, and for 5 years as a young person. Then I went to Europe and spent 10 years of my life developing my career as a dancer and a choreographer. Came back to San Francisco as ballet master for San Francisco Ballet. I was their ballet master from 1965 till 1970. That was the period when all of this was developing.
Right.
I came back to San Francisco specifically because the eyes of the world were on San Francisco, my own native city. Plus the fact that I was offered the ballet mastership. When I came home, I was living in Bordeaux. That was the last theater that I worked in, and I was actually principal male dancer, which is very unusual in France because I'm an American and I hit the top of the ballet hierarchy in France. It's very interesting. Plus I became also a choreographer. I came home as choreographer, ballet master, and I also was invited to perform and choreograph in Caracas, Venezuela. So I was in 2 places. When I came home, one of our most important seasons was the summer season, what they were called the Ballet 60s, and they had been formed by Michael Smuin, who later went to New York but the Ballet 60s were continuing. We were all doing experimental work based on what was happening in the city at the time.
Right.
We were basically, and as a choreographer, I did the first psychedelic ballet, rock and roll ballet, inspired by the Chet Helms event at the Longshoremen's Hall.
Right.
Very good.
I also I called it Forbidden Trip, Voyage Interdit, where I had rock music, electronic music, and projections and stuff. It was based on that idea. On my way to Denver, I was asked to choreograph a ballet in Denver, and I worked on a ballet called Changes. It was about the I Ching, which I've become more familiar with, and so it was based upon the I Ching. On my flight to Denver, I was sitting next to Chet Helms. Chet always remembered this, and we were friends from then on. And as we were conversing, and Chet remembers this, he said, when we met, he said he met the ballet, this choreographer from San Francisco, and that he was going to do, that I was going to do a ballet based on the I Ching, we immediately became close, you know, immediately. Chet later, so I was always, I had a small group of dancers that they were always asking us to come and improvise. Chet would ask me to come to different events, and here and there and everywhere, because we were working with the light show artists, Bill Ham, Jerry Abrams, you know, Jerry Abrams, Holy See, Ray, who passed a couple of years ago. Ray, yeah, Garden of the Lights with Bob Ellison. Yeah, okay.
So was Jerry Abrams at San Francisco State?
Jerry Abrams? I don't know if he went to the state.
artist.
He was a light show artist, light show artist.
You're right.
He had a place down by 15th and Valencia.
So I was able to, because of doing all these things, I did a ballet based on the Tao. I called it The Way. Music, electronic music by Warner Jepson.
Yeah, it's Warner Jepson.
Well known in the community.
Yeah.
So we were really involved in a lot of events that were basically underground, because I couldn't publicize the name of the ballet company. They didn't like that. So a group of us, for these years that I was as ballet master, were performing underground, and that was where Chet would invite us, and we would do events here and there. We even did out at the beach as a family dog. We did a weekend where we had we had rock groups, and we had projections by Jerry Abrams and by you name it, and my group was dancing with smoke and with plastic drop cloths and with all kinds of wonderful stuff. You know, we were doing all kinds of new stuff in the light show environment. Then I did a few ballets in the Opera House, we invaded the Opera House with the culture of our area of the Haight Ashbury. And because I was getting a lot of interest by the community and the new work that I was doing with the ballet. So I did one piece called Chromatica, in which it was a theme and variations, and each variation had a color and texture to it. I needed to see projections on the stage, textures. I needed all sorts of, I wanted visual information on the stage. I wanted people to be taken somewhere. Later, I teamed up with Bill Ham, and we did a piece called The Awakening, which we did over at the Presentation High School. We built the theater back in, we opened the back of the theater, and we built a huge cave in black plastic, and Bill Ham was there, and he was doing projections in this cage as my ballet progressed with electronic music. We had electronic music. We brought electronic music to the Opera House when I did a piece. Well, no, we brought actually my swan song with San Francisco Ballet was called Genesis 70, and I made a dance to Terry Riley's in C. Terry Riley, which at the time the music reviewers did not like. Today it's like the classic. Right. You know, I mean, Bill's music is the Bill's is, the NC is a classic, you know. But anyway, we brought it to the Opera House. I had cross projections by Garden of Delight and by Ray Anderson. We had the two projection groups from the front, from the side, and one from the back. We had rear projection screens and everything. And we progressed through this whole in C, and by the time the ballet was over, it caused a huge sensation at the Opera House. The whole hippie community had come. Bill, Chet, and everyone was there. They were there in their finest. The Opera House crowd was like, who are these people? And they said, and because they said, oh, they're even smoking pot. Bullcrap. They weren't smoking pot. They smelled like patchouli. You know, nobody's doing that. Nobody's that stupid, you know. So here they all came to the Opera House. You know. During the ballet, as it started, it was based simply on the elementals: earth, air, fire, water, and ether. I have the fifth element of ether. And so, when the thing was over, big controversy. Some hated it and some didn't like it. But we invaded the Opera House. I say, I brought all of us to the Opera House, and then the ballet said, "We don't want that audience." And so I formed my company, Dance Spectrum, and we continued to the 70s. So and I've been here for 50 years. I bought my house 50 years ago, so I'm celebrating my 50th anniversary. And I
Opera company?
Of course.
Right.
They also performed at that.
Yeah, Angels of Light.
Angels of Light, the Hibiscus.
My house was exactly geographically west from the Grateful Dead.
Right.
Exactly on the same line. I live on the Sonic.
So I've got a question for the panel. In the Haight Ashbury, a lot of the homes were owned by black families,
Right.
church-going people, and they were renting to, these renting to hippies who were unmarried couples. Did that create any tensions, any problems?
Quite the opposite.
Pretty tolerant.
Quite the opposite. My entire neighborhood on Hayes Street, the Hayes Valley, it was all owned by blacks. And when I first moved in over there, it was mostly all black landlords. And they embraced the hippie movement. They embraced the people that came in. What happened, though, is when foreigners came in and started buying property around in that area, the Russians and the Chinese and the Japanese, they pretty much pushed out most of the black families. And that was when the tensions began to start, because people were being pushed out of the neighborhood. The insurance companies redlined the area so people couldn't get insurance. The police made sure that they didn't show up to a crime scene for at least 4 or 5 hours, which encouraged the crimes. Then, of course, the junkies were dropped onto the street, et cetera, and this is when the black community, and then you had neighborhood redevelopment that was destroying the Fillmore and literally dismantling the Fillmore and taking those old Victorians, putting them up on jacks and moving them out of the city. So then the tensions started. And it was the Black Peastone Nation and the Black Panther Party that tried to come in and work out some kind of an arrangement or something that was happening between a lot of the people, especially the new landlords that were coming in from out of the country, essentially. And that's pretty much still going on. Also, Mrs. Alioto, when they redlined all the insurances, she went and bought up most of the property in the Haight Ashbury. And one more thing, I want you all to notice something. In 1968, the lights on Haight Street were changed. If you go up to Buena Vista Park and look down at the Haight Ashbury, you will notice that everywhere in the city there are these green mercury vapor lights. But from Masonic Avenue until the park, you will see these red lights, which are still there. And those red lights were put in by Alioto to cause tension and to raise, because of the speed and the things that were on the street, to raise the anxiety of the people in the neighborhood. All the buses were routed around the area. That's why they still go up Masonic over to Waller. And there were no traffic was allowed down Haight Street. In 1970, it was San Francisco Beirut. There was a 10 o'clock curfew. And if you went out after 10 o'clock to go to the store to buy something, the police always stopped you and always carted you. And that's what caused the problems. Okay, the people in the neighborhood were gracious and wonderful. And I rented my first place for $150 a month. And by the way, I'm still there. My space where I live right now used to be called the Blue Unicorn, if any of you people remember. And I used to tell people that we would plan the revolution over on Hayes Street where it was nice and quiet, and then we'd come over to Haight Street and raise hell. And then go back over there where it was nice and quiet and plan the revolution.
What's your rent now?
My rent is $750 a month, and I'm rent controlled. That's something else I did in the 70s to make sure you all had rent control.
Oh, thank you.
Questions? Anybody else?
I have a question. The tie-dye, how did this get caught up in this? You know, I mean, you see tie-dye, you automatically think everything's.
Well, tie-dye is kind of an advanced chemistry in which you have to realize that the clothing has to be alkaline and that the ink has to be acidic. And then so you wash the clothes in an alkaline substance and then rinse it and spin it dry and then get ready and prepared for tying.
Right.
And then the dye, the ink sets because of the chemistry that's between the alkaline cloth and the acidic ink and find morons generally spinning.
But it was.
So it's been going on for a long time.
It was done by a lot of individuals too, just to make money. When I first came here, I didn't have any money, and the Krishnas were running around San Francisco giving away free incense. So what I did is I picked up wire I found on the street, and I would wrap it into incense holders and walk behind them and sell the incense holders. That was how I was able to afford my first apartment in San Francisco. So you saw a lot of that jewelry, and you saw people making, you know, forgot about macrame and all the rest of the things that were happening. Lots of people's folk art was happening because people needed to make money to stay.
There was a presentation at the
Going on for a couple of months.
no, there was one about fashions for the Summer of Love on Saturday, and Jean Rose, who lives in Coal Valley and is now among the most famous herbalists in the world, she was at that time a fashion designer before she had an automobile accident, changed her career. And she mentioned in her speech that, or on our presentation, the tie-dye was not at its peak at all as a technology during the Summer of Love.
No.
Definitely not.
No, it developed.
Anyone else here, but she said it was, it's either, I think it was later.
It was by 1975. It was everywhere. Also, the rainbow had been associated with gay liberation at that time, and so you had rainbow suspenders, rainbow pants, and then also we had the problems where people were burning the flag and being arrested. So the clothing manufacturers started making clothes with the American flag on it as a way to help us in our protests. So you saw people wearing T-shirts that had the American flag upside down, for instance, with the piece in the side.
Mama, did you have something to say about the fibers also?
Well, so the tie-dye really came later.
Right.
It wasn't really,
They've been known in India for
the things
1,000 years.
that people were making clothes out of were Indian bedspreads from Cost Plus.
Right.
And, velvet, paisley material.
Paisleys.
Scraps of material that they would make into like patchwork things or patchwork jeans or, and anything that was, something from Afghanistan or anything that was kind of foreign, kind of got incorporated in.
Also casual wear. When I first came to San Francisco in 1965, 66, and I went on the bus, I was surprised because men wore suits usually. They would have a hat, they would have a vest as well, on an inner jacket as well, and the women even wore gloves. I saw many women with gloves, and I was one of the first people to shave my head, grow my beard, wear a pair of blue jeans and just a T-shirt, and then that became the fashion statement in the Haight.
That was it. Blue jeans and T-shirts.
So now I tell people I invented homeless fashion.
That's what it was really the beginning of.
Right. Casual wear.
Are any of the original musicians, well, okay, Matt Callahan wrote this wonderful book about the relationship between music and politics here.
Right.
Says, I went to 2 or 3 presentations by him, that really the driving force that brought so many people here and kept the movement and unified was the music.
Right.
Are any of those musicians still alive?
Yes. Morton Subotnick lives in Morton Subotnick, Ramon Sender. We just saw Ramon Sender a few weeks ago at the library. Lamont Young. A lot of the people who are what we call 20th century and 21st century music were doing a lot of experiments. Stephen Reich was in the area at that time. Unfortunately, he's passed.
I have 2 CDs of original music from the 60s.
Right.
One of them Jerry Garcia recorded with some of the people who were at 710 Ashbury, other musicians.
But I'm thinking the rock and roll musicians.
Yeah, this is.
Well, there were rock bands on every corner. You could walk down.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, original music.
Right.
Time period.
There's still Garcia.
There were people practicing out of their garages everywhere in the city.
We took a recording of Jerry Garcia's from 1970 from Pacific High Studio, very rough, with his friends in the Haight, who he hung
Right.
out with, the Cloud Brothers. And it was on reel to reel. and we had to bake it in a fruit dehydrator to get it from the reel to reel onto a DAC. It's a one-time pass, and we captured it.
Right.
It's very rare. It's very rough, but.
Those musicians are all gone.
Not all of them. Sam is still in the air from Big Brother and the Holding Company. You still have Mickey Hart.
Well, the musicians are still alive.
A lot of the musicians from that time are still around. Yeah.
The musicians are.
It's what I do for a living.
I don't have any names.
David Freiberg is a musician that's alive.
And he's singing now.
He was with
Quicksilver Messenger Service.
Was he in the area?
Yeah, he lives
He
in
still performs.
And most of the experimental music was coming from a place called the Tape Center, which was on Divisadero and Hayes Street. That's yeah. Right.
Yes. Okay, Peter.
Got another question. Fast forward to relatively recent times, and we have Gavin Newsom's sit-lie law. We have Scott Wiener's no nudity law. I'm interested in the past changes and also, what happened and how did it happen and what can we do?
Too old for nudity. There isn't much we can do.
Well, 2 weeks ago they had a nude parade down Haight Street.
I was in it, it was so much fun.
Yeah, it's good. Right. Yes, I did too.
I describe what happens is people who move to Millbrae and complain about the airplane. It's like people move to this neighborhood, the night break over here on the, right over here on the corner, right, spent like $15,000 in soundproof, and they soundproofed it so well you could stand at the curb and not hear the music.
Oh.
And the person who lived across the street then complained about the motorcycles leaving at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Huh.
So it's like people, they killed South Market, same way. People move in next to clubs that have
Right.
been there for years.
Right.
And then say, no, we can't stand the noise, or they do, they kill it. No, they take what, was a lovely, fun, interesting neighborhood and go, well, this is not as nice as, there's this one guy in Coal Valley who was like legendary for complaining about music in the polo field. Like, I never bothered to learn his name, but he would like call in noise complaints when they're doing concerts in the polo field. Because he lives on Coal Street. It's like,
Same with the art house in Berkeley, trying to keep the art house alive and being this wonderful place, and it's just the ordinance, the sound ordinance is shutting it down.
By the 80s, politics had changed so much that we had what I call tyranny of the minority. All of the groups that had solidarity, for instance, Gay Liberation, Black Panther Party, Women's Liberation, they all worked together because we all came out of the peace movement. Morton, back in Los Angeles, way back in the early 60s, they started this peace movement that happened, and it came right up here, and it came from the West Coast and moved east. And what happened is later, those groups began to fragment into smaller and smaller groups. For instance, the Daughters of Bilitis, which is a lesbian organization, broke into the Lipstick Lesbians versus the Diesel Dyke Lesbians versus the Dykes on Bikes lesbians, so on and so on. And what happened is it got to the point where they weren't even working with each other. And that created what I call tyranny of the minority. That has continued and has gotten worse and worse and worse, and the word solidarity doesn't exist anymore. Nobody knows what the hell it is. Groups get as much funding as they can to destroy other groups that are exactly like themselves. They don't try to work together, and what we have now politically is we have the entire United States walking back to the 50s backwards.
You're right.
And that has to stop.
Yeah. Okay, well, he said so. Lovely. This is what came to me just before I turned 79. And I was thinking, oh my God, oh man, no. Oh man. And then the Spirit spoke to me and she said, learn to love, love to learn, this never ends.
Yeah.
And I thought, I believe that's the common thread that we were talking about. That we need to find, to say what others not like, others, blah, blah, they should be this way or that way. We do live in the time of what? Trump. And one thing I can say about Donald Trump before he goes down, he's bringing us together.
That's
So
true.
how we get together, we have a common enemy, Trump. I don't know how many people today listen to the former head of the FBI really lay it down. And this, if I may use the word, I won't, it starts with an A and has an H in it. Donald Trump is bringing us together, and let's be open to coming together. Numerous Haight meetings, numerous people are getting together and starting collectives, numerous ways in a positive way. Let's practice our love together. And I said it when Trump wants to build his wall. He wants to spend $1 billion of money for food stamps and all that stuff, and for our education. You go on with it, food and health, education, all that stuff. He wants to take that money and build a wall for $1 billion. Is that right?
Yeah.
Well, I say let's us build a wall. It's a wall of love. A wall of love, and whether you're documented or undocumented is totally irrelevant. Come on over.
Yeah.
Irrelevant. Come over. San Francisco, was part of California, and Houston, California used to be a part of what? Mexico. So this is about documented or undocumented, who cares? We're all here.
That's right.
So I say it's time to build a wall the wall of love is very together this wall of love with a rainbow bridge. And everybody's invited to come, but Trump ice and his thugs. He's going nowhere and we're going somewhere. His love will get us everywhere, and hate will get you nowhere. Thank you.
Yay!
Richard, what do we have to say next? Thank you.
By the way, I did the mural that's on the corner of Masonic near Haight. It's a giant QR code, you know, those checkerboard things.
Right.
And if you scan it with a phone, it takes you to a website with no advertising, with over 350 historical pictures of Haight.
Oh wow!
Most of which I ripped off.
Did we get any? Did anyone get any of the pictures that guy called Will Dillon on the side of the Straight Theater? Remember the mural that he did? Do we have some? Because he just died last year, and.
I just took pictures any place I could.
Oh, good. Yeah.
And Richard, I will give you a copy of that article that I mentioned to scan and put on your website.
Want to call it, Rich? Call it. Pardon?
You have a lot of good stories, a lot of good stuff.
Oh, thank you. I've been here a long time, and I did a lot of stuff in the